Welcome to Major Label Debut. This is the podcast about major label debuts. My name is Graham Wright. I host the podcast about major label debuts. And joining me today is the producer, one of the producers of the podcast about major label debuts, which again is known as Major Label Debut. That's my friend, John Paul Bullock. How are you, John Paul?
Hello, Graham. I am doing quite well.
You're hearing both our voices today, where typically in our usual rhythm, this would be like an interview slot, simply because due to scheduling, we're moving our next interview to next week to make sure it is nice and well cooked up and finished for you. So we're jumping in here in the usual interview slot with just like a quick check-in on where we're at with MLD and where we're going. And then I have some philosophy to unspool after we finish up with that. But John Paul, we just did our 1-year anniversary celebratory episode. And now we are in year 2 of Major Label Debut. We have entered it already. How is it feeling for you so far? What are you looking forward to?
I'm feeling victorious, and I am looking forward to all these great interviews we've got coming up to drop, including next week, spoiler alert, I guess, Chris Stammy from the DBs, a North Carolina legend, an indie rock legend, a producerial legend, a man who's been involved with a bunch of different scenes and is super cool, and someone who I was fascinated to hear talk with you. So I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, it was really cool talking to Chris. He is matter of fact and thoughtful, and at least outwardly, it seemed to me pretty unsentimental about all that he has done and learned. And, you know, if I was him, I would be patting myself on the back and waxing rhapsodic about all my great stories all the time, as I frequently do on this podcast. And Chris is just kind of sitting back in the cut, and he's wearing a nice shirt, and he's sort of speaking in measured tones about the most amazing things. And it's such a lot of these brilliant people we've talked to have sort of surprised me in that similar way. And it was really cool just to like listen to him gently explain his incredible career and a lot of his really good and I thought, you know, illuminating thoughts and feelings just about what it means to make records both as an artist and as a producer. And he wears both of those hats very elegantly. And it's a great episode, and you're going to really enjoy it when it comes next week.
Very also excited for We Are Scientists coming.
Yes, one of the most contemporary to Tokyo Police Club bands so far to feature on Major Label Debut. Really, they sort of felt like we never toured together. And we start the conversation off, another spoiler alert, by sort of trying to figure out if we ever shared the stage so much as one time. And we couldn't get to the bottom of it, but I really think we never did somehow. So finally, some version of Tokyo Police Club and some version of We Are Scientists are together on the stage that is podcasts.
Yeah, tons of really cool stuff coming, and I'm just very excited. I'm looking forward to, we're booking guests right now. So if you have suggestions and you're listening to this, please put your suggestions in the comments. We are going out to all sorts of really interesting people, and I don't know, coming into year 2 with the fire in my belly and ready to make this podcast bigger and better and more exciting and more interesting and tackle all sorts of subjects. I know that, when we had originally talked about doing this episode, you had described some idea of doing like a year 2 manifesto, that this is like a redoubling of our efforts. Like, but I don't know. I don't even feel the full need for that at this point. I feel like I have the power inside me. I've got the glow. If you're for fans of Bruce Leroy, I have. If you're a Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon person,
they're out there. Amongst the fan base. Yeah, I one of the things I love about Major Label Debut, and that has been such like a delightful surprise for me personally, has been that the manifesto of it all has been presenting itself, I think, to me and to us as in real time. And sort of every conversation we have, whether it's with a Chris Stammy or with a Dan Mangan, another forthcoming guest, you know,
hi, Dan.
All these people hi Dan, are coming at it from different angles. And the more we talk, the more I feel like I understand not just them and what they have done and what they're doing, but the entire project of this podcast and like why, at least to me, it is such an interesting and worthwhile endeavor as, you know, yet another tentacle of my rock and roll octopus as I reach out to try and understand this thing that has defined my whole life.
I think of you as a rock and roll octopus. I really
I'm
do.
glad. Rock and Roll Octopus is a good. That's going to be my like children's toy store. Come to Rock and Roll Octopus.
I mean, Octopus's Garden. Come on, like
Oh
that's gotta
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Although I'm not sure I would send my child into any place that was called something's garden or someone's garden. It seems like the doom is inside that place for my child, my fictional child.
So I wanted to, speaking of fictional children, I wanted to birth another of my theoretical children for you really briefly. I kind of got on this train of thought the other day when I was out for a stroll, and it felt really of a piece with what we're talking about here. And I wanted to bounce it off you, John Paul, and then you, the listener, to see if it illuminates anything like it did for me for anyone else. And it's the difference between a song and a record. And I remember being a kid, I suspect that most of our listeners will at least recall the Grammy Awards, even if they don't still pay attention to them. And the big award at the Grammys was always Record of the Year. And I was always confused because I thought a record, one of my friends and I talked about records, we meant like record albums, an LP, a collection of songs. OK Computer is the new Radiohead record or whatever. But the Record of the Year award would always be given to a song. And I slowly came to understand that they meant it in the very old-fashioned way of like a record is a recording. It's short for a recording of a song. And thinking about that the other day really set me down this path of feeling like, oh, okay, everything about the industry that we talk about here that has defined the direction of music as an art form in the 20th and now 21st century is born out of the notion of records. And when recorded music became possible, at that same moment, too, the notion of selling those records to people became possible, or spinning them on the radio, or taking this music that previously was available to you in live performance, whether that was a concert or someone singing to you in your home or whatever else, or as sheet music, which only people who could read sheet music could consume. And now instead, all of a sudden, someone can make up a song and then capture the song, and then millions of people globally can hear the song. And it changes how a song is conceived. And I think that nowadays, because of the methodology by which music is made and distributed in the way that all of those things are like here on your phone, the record and the song are like merging in a very interesting way. And I really realized that, I love songs, obviously, but what I really love are records. And it's not just the music and the lyrics, the melody and the harmony. It's the tones and the textures, and every single choice becomes part of this really interesting whole, which is in part a song, but in another part sort of not only the arrangement, but the culmination of all the choices that are made when taking the song and capturing it and committing a definitive canonical version of that song to proverbial tape, be that literal tape or ones and zeros or whatever else. And I think I realized that as a musician myself, I spend most of my time conceiving not of songs, but of records. And even when I'm sitting there with my acoustic guitar writing a song in the more traditional sense of just coming up with like the intellectual property of music and lyrics, I'm still on some level considering it as it's going to be recorded. And even if that's as spare as just a guitar and singing, it's still, there's a whole context that's added by the very process of recording a song and then putting it out into the world. And it's a little too oversimplified to say that like the song is the art and the record is the commerce in the art and commerce that I love to talk about here. But thinking about it from that angle really turns my brain on to like more ways to think about the music that I listen to and hear. And we were just watching the baseball playoffs, and hats off to the Dodgers. You guys did it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel personally responsible.
You should. I think that your fandom really pushed them the extra mile. Everyone at those games is singing Seven Nation Army all the time. And I think it's really interesting that the White Stripes are a band I really think of as a records band. And so much of like the tones and the textures and even the meta text, which was the awareness that, Jack White only uses old fashioned recording equipment. It's all very mannered and deliberate. But then out of that recordy process comes this melody, this bass line that is maybe turning into the single most enduring melody of like the last 50 years. It's starting to feel like it's left behind its identity as a White Stripes single and has become a sports chant, this elemental like human noise that is made. And so it goes in both directions, and I have no final point or thesis for this. I just find that to be such an interesting line of inquiry. And I know that going forward, as I listen to these records that we talk about here and consider the process by which the songs are turned into the records, which are then turned into the career, having this the difference and also the similarity between those two concepts close in my heart is going to help me continue my inquiries here. So that's sort of my my musings. Does that make sense, John Paul? And B, do you have any further thoughts on that concept?
Well, as a, I know we said we were doing a season 2 manifesto, but it is kind of a nice way of thinking about the general shape of most of these conversations and how they're becoming more elaborate and more specific and more interesting. And I think there's so many different hallways you can walk down as you discuss a song, a record, a career. It makes my heart full of blood and love for this project, because I do think that there's so much more to talk about, and there's so many different choices that are made when people make art, and so many different choices that are made when people make money, and how those two things commingle is the thing we're doing, right? So I like that you're thinking about it this way. It's when we started this, I'm not sure we fully understood what we were doing. Obviously, we did not understand what we were doing.
Story of my life.
I don't think we understand what we're doing right now either, but I think we're getting to understand things, parts, pieces of what we're doing a little bit better. And I like watching you think this out in real time. I like that image of you stalking around Toronto,
mumbling to myself.
Yeah, talking to yourself, and just repeating art and commerce over and over again
as I'm sure there are listeners who are like, yes, let's stroke the chin, and other listeners who are more interested in just hearing about, tell me about playing the guitar in the studio. The musicians we've talked to, there's been a healthy mix of people who are interested in thinking through it and philosophizing and analyzing, and others who are really a lot more just action based, and they're just in it doing it. And I find that they both have so much to teach me, and hopefully to teach you, the listeners, and you, John Paul Bullock, and all of us as well. And I hope everyone will come with us as we continue our inquiries into the heart and the soul of music.
It's year 2.
It's year two.
We're in it. Come along with us on this fantastic journey.
Yes, and get in touch with pitches for people we should talk to, or if you have questions about any of this philosophical stuff or what it's like working in the music industry. This is a pretty wide open shop at this point in terms of what we feel empowered to talk about on the show. So if anything piques anyone's interest for any reason, get at us on any of the social medias or whatever, and we will we'll probably talk about it at some point, because the content mouth is hungry and it needs words to feed on.
Yeah, and if you want to do a live event, if you want to do another movie club, if you want us to make new merch, if you want us to do any of these things, we will do it. We are making this thing as we speak.
Hell yeah. And thank you for listening and enabling us to make it in a way that feels not like we're just whistling into the wind. And John Paul Bullock, thank you, my friend, for making this real. Would not exist without you. And Josh Hook, our other producer, who is here in spirit, but not in voice this week. And that's what I have to say about Major Label Debut and music and my ravings this week. So I think that's lovely. It's great to talk to you, as always. I am too. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad to talk to you too.
All right. Well, that's your Major Label Debut for this week. We will be back next week with Chris Stammy of the DBs and other great bands, and of his own solo career and major label debut, all of which we talk about. It's a great conversation, and in the meantime, feel free to check out the archives if you're a more recent listener. Some of the early episodes with people like Rob Schnapp and Glenn from Toad the Wet Sprocket and many more are like
Brenda
really,
Souter
really good.
from the Feelies is
yes,
one of my favorites.
Love talking to Brenda. Vashti Bunyan. The list goes on and is available to you wherever podcasts are casted. So check those out, and we'll talk to you again soon. Major Label Debut is produced by John Paul Bullock and Josh Hook. Our theme music is by Greg Alsop.
Yes.
We love you, Greg. He's
Love
the greatest. And our listenership is provided by you, the listener, and we appreciate it very much. We'll be back next week with more tales and chin-stroking philosophy from the intersection of art and commerce. So long.
Year 2, come get some. Come get some.
Here we go.